Welcome back to Things in My Head podcast. What's in my head? I'm Cecile Reynolds, and I am back again with Jen Arevalo. Am I saying that right? No, I'm not. Say it.
Arevalo?
Oh, totally off. Well, we are here today. This is podcast number 3. And we have fun things. Well, I don't know if you consider it fun, but we decided the next topic is going to talk about the big topic is around mentoring, because we talk a lot about that when I joke that you guys sign up unsolicited for it when you start working at the boutique. So that's our big topic today. So Jen is a great person to chat with about it because she's been with me the longest and she's seen a lot of things, even if she doesn't partake, even though she does, but she partakes in segments, and others partake in big segments along the way. So we'll talk about that in a second. But so right now, I think by the time you guys we air this or we get this link up, I will probably be out of the country. So we are days away from this big Italy trip that I've been planning for the last few months, and so that's where I am in my life right now, trying to get there. Today is a Friday. Yeah, today's a Friday, the Friday before the Monday that we're going out of town. And I want to do a whole different episode because we'll get some feedback, because I've been talking about, I feel like forever, this trip. And I've been planning it, I think like 3 months minimum, 4 months. No, it's got to be more than that. But so I would love to have a whole episode around planning international trips, because this is only the second real one I've done. And last year we did Australia. This year we're doing Italy. And for those that don't know, I can just tell you my process of how I do it over time frames, and then my pros and cons in case there's anyone who does it differently, because I'm hoping to at least take a trip every year, and if there's better ways to do it, because in the family, as many families are, the mom is the one that's doing it, and I'm the one that's doing it in terms of plane tickets, where we go. They get to just say, basically, do we agree on where we go? And then I have to then figure out every single thing in between there until we get there, from airfare to what dates to what cities to how do you get in between to skirt. I mean, I honestly, and God bless, I also would not want anyone else to do it because I don't trust them. I do not trust them to do it right and to get all the steps right, because no one is as type A or, detail oriented to the degree so we don't fall out somewhere than I will. So in that sense, I only trust myself. So anyway, so we're excited. I'm excited to do that. I will share everything about it. We are aiming, and I'll tell you how this works out. I told them that 2 weeks, and we're staying in Airbnb, so that way we have a washer at least, and it can air dry. But everyone only gets 1 carry-on luggage and 1 backpack. They're no check-ins. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want anything getting lost. You can just recycle clothes. And we've never done just carry-on for 2 weeks. Like when we went to Australia, and we were staying with family a lot, we had everyone had 1 huge suitcase each. It was madness. I didn't wear half the stuff. Also, it was winter there, opposite season, so it's a little thicker. But in Italy, it is summer, so it should be okay. So I'm going to thank you guys now, Jen and team, for taking care of the boutique, and you for taking care of the podcast as I get a little getaway. So I think I'm excited to share how that goes, and we'll do a whole segment on international travel when I get back at some point. So I'll take your tips. Ooh. Are y'all ready for me to leave? You feel like I haven't been here a lot anyway.
I feel like I'm going to be stressed when you're gone, because you're the safety net, honestly, because you are so type A. You're looking at I'm like, okay, well, if I didn't catch it, Cecile will remind me later.
I think you and me are type A, for sure. I feel good when everyone's there. Lauren does a great job. I said when it comes down to have we thought about this little minute tiny thing? I think you're gonna need to make sure that gets covered.
Yeah.
Like when you say, don't forget this.
I feel like your type A-ness has rubbed off onto me because I don't think that I was naturally a type A person. But working with you for so long, I've become that person in all of my friend groups and my family.
Oh, how funny.
It's crazy.
Oh, is it because y'all just really don't want to get the text from me? So you try. Can we talk about my text? Tell me what y'all think about my text, truly. So if everyone knows, we're talking about the boutique, Brooke's Boutique, and this is where this is all stemming from. But Jen is one of the managers. It's Jen, Soraya, and Lauren that are 3 managers and then the staff. And so I have been there less because Brooke and I have started a real estate business, but I still am involved because I'm such a hoverer. Is that the word? Hoverer. Like I stalk the Facebook messages. I stalk the questions. I stalk like what are we doing on lives. I stalk the charges. I'm like, what was that sold? Because I have to make sure everything's okay, even though it's for me to relax. So we have different group texts. We have the big group text of all the staff. Then we have a manager group text, and then I'm sure there's group texts that I'm not even a part of. Isn't there? Are there?
I mean,
is there a manager group text?
There's a that was per your request.
I know that's true. That's true.
That wasn't So there's like so many group texts, but I feel like when you're around, I'm like, whew, at least we know. For me, I don't get stressed when you send those texts. Okay. I'm like, okay, that's good that you caught that because I missed it. I
feel like the people silence my text. I'm like, no, but not everyone's answering me.
I don't think anybody silences, but maybe like glosses over.
So you otherwise ignores what you're saying.
I was gonna say maybe people gloss over like what you're saying.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get y'all. Well, that's funny. So anyway, I do regardless appreciate all of you because if you guys weren't there, then obviously it could not run the way it runs, and you guys do so much a better job. The other day, this is bad. This is not a good trait, I'm gonna tell you, but I got a little bit more removed from the details of like, you know, ringing people up because y'all changed it. Like you want the customer on there, the square. I don't even know it. So when the girls, I don't even think you were there that day, but Hannah, Tori, and Brooke wanted to film a reel and right outside the doors. And they're like, hey, can you cover the desk or the counter? And I said, sure. And then of course, someone wants to buy something, so yay. But I was like, I don't know how to do this. And they were watching me from the glass doors laughing at me because I was like, I don't know what to do, which is bad. I know what to do in an easy sense, but y'all added steps. So I was like, okay, Hannah had to come in and help me. It was pathetic. It was pathetic. So anyway, I need to get retrained, I guess. So anyway, so we're gonna move on. So I'll share how Italy went, and then if y'all want me to do an episode on planning international travel, I have 2 trips that I have experience with that I can tell you what I did or what you have to do, and we can do do's and don'ts of it because I've already learned many. So we have that. Okay, today we thought we would talk about mentoring. And I say that because, like I said, before we made this podcast title, Things in My Head, we originally thought it was going to be Things I Wish I Knew, because a lot of times we joke that I always have something to say about the girls' lives. Or I have thoughts, or I have advice, or I have things that I wish they knew that people, like the younger generation, doesn't necessarily get taught. And had I had someone teach me in my 20s, I could have been a far more ahead than probably I was or moving forward. So, and no fault of anyone's, it's just like maybe parents didn't know it, school hasn't taught you, things that could set you up, or just things that you don't want to listen to your parents about. So maybe you'll listen to it from a non-family member, which would be me too. At least most of you, not Brooke or Lauren. They for sure don't listen to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is good sometimes, your parents, they harp on you because they love you. And I think there's just a familiarity with them. But when you get it from an outside place, it kind of is like a shock. You're like, wait a second, I should be doing this. I should be thinking about this. And it kind of puts it in a different perspective of somebody that's not your family telling you. Because there is a lot of your family does try and tell you and steer you in the right direction. Right. But it does...
It causes tension.
Yeah.
What I always joke about when I say that is I say, I have no dog in the fight. Is that the saying? I have no fight in the. I have no dog in the fight. Meaning, if you don't take my advice, you won't hurt my feelings, and I'm not going to get mad at you and make you like stay home and ground you. That's not my role. So I think that's different. But the joke is when ladies, normally, not to say we have had a male, but when the ladies come and work for us, they are typically, besides me and Joanne who does shipping, she's around my age, even though I'm still older than her, but for the most part, everyone is at least a couple decades younger. And so they don't know when they sign up and work that they signed up for a mentorship program, an unsolicited mentorship program hosted by moi.
I was going to say that was not a part of the interview that I sat down
That's
for.
not in the job description, as will be part of.
I was going to say 90% of the things I do at my job were not in the job description.
Well, that's because number 20 was other duties as identified or something like that. You have to always have that. No, but for real. Okay, so what for you? We're gonna do this two perspectives. I can tell you what my thoughts are that I've learned over the decades, and I'm just kidding. Like, I don't actually. This has happened organically because just in our conversations, talking to each other, the girls have been really good. We do really good of keeping the right fit of the staff, meaning they get along. They're not all the same, but everyone gets along. They're not catty. They get to be really good friends and talk, outside of here in their lives. And sometimes I'm privy to it just being in there. I know not everything is said when I'm around. I get it, but I always say, if you want a different perspective from someone older, then I'm here. So, and then sometimes they just talk, and therefore I have to share what my thoughts are because I have to. I'm like, wait a minute. So that's kind of where over the years this has been like the joke or the what's the word? Like the theme that we have, like, you're in a mentorship program when you work here.
It's like, I would probably say you're in like a mentorship program when you start working here, just because there's just going to come a time where you start talking about your personal life to your coworkers.
Right.
And then if you're doing that and Cecile's here, then you're going to get the honest to God truth about what's going on in your life. So I feel like people are like, oh my gosh, the honest to God truth. Because, for me, somebody might tell me a story of something that's going on, and I'll be like, oh yes, okay, yeah. But I won't give like a personal opinion. Yeah. I'm one of those people that is kind of afraid to give a personal opinion because I don't ever want to rub anyone the wrong way, especially if I see that person every single day. Yeah. So I'm like, I rather just keep my opinion or anything that I think about just closed off. And that is so different from what you do.
But it's not come off bad though. That's
no.
Like, okay, what do you girls say about it when I'm not around?
I don't think it ever comes off bad, but sometimes I feel like it is what somebody might need to hear. Mm-hmm. And sometimes even that happens to me. Like, I talk to you about my personal life as well, and I don't really talk to very like anybody really about my personal life. It's crazy how much I do talk about it with the girls at the boutique and you. It's like y'all are like almost a core friend group. You always put it in a different perspective. You're always like, this is our tribe, and I feel like this is our tribe.
Safe. We're safe.
Yeah.
We don't judge, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel like... That's how I feel you guys are to each other, is everyone's so positive and wants the best, and you don't judge each other. Even though we don't all agree, and we're like, what are you doing? But we don't judge.
Yeah, we definitely don't judge, and we're all so different. Like, if we didn't all work together, we would never have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very, very different because... I can even like Lauren is so different. Soraya is different as well. Like, she loves sports. Mm-hmm. I could be the furthest thing away from sports. I don't understand baseball. I don't understand football. Yeah. I can't believe we had like how many games there are. I'm like in shock of it all. I'm like, wow,
and that is she goes to.
Yeah, that's a commitment. I do not have that. But then like Crosshair, like I love video games. I love that kind of gaming culture.
Yeah.
And that is so far removed from like her spectrum, and yet we're such good friends. Like, we get along, and we're just like, it's just like we would never cross paths if it was different, because they're like theater, I did art, like we just did like very, very different things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I think what makes it good too. So okay, this is the funniest part. I don't know if you know this. So we have a back room. So obviously we have the floor, and then like every retail space, you have a back room that is storage or, whatever. And so we have a back room, and when someone goes to the back room, that's the funniest part. Like, it could be, oh my gosh, I can't even explain it. Like, if someone's like, you come in from your shift and they're like, oh, don't go back there, Cecile's talking to, whatever, and then like something's happening. You're like, what's wrong? And then the person comes out crying straight to the bathroom.
No. What? That never happens.
Like, that is the funniest thing. Like, the restroom is right next to the door. So the person who just cried, because not on a bad thing, I didn't make them cry, but we're just talking, like, whatever the scenario is, and they'll go straight from the back room next door to the bathroom to freshen up and get themselves together to come back out on the floor. But it's happened like so many times with every person for whatever reason. It must be funny from the outside that you're like, oh, they're back there.
They'll be like, especially like when Joanne, because she works back there like all the time, so we're like, Joanne, no,
don't go there yet.
They're talking right now, and Joanne's like, oh, okay.
Or I'm like, Joanne, can you get to a stopping point? Can I have the room for 10 minutes?
And then poor Joanne has she walks out all sad, and she's like in the front area, and I'm like, hey, want to learn how to ring something up? She's like, no.
She does. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So the conversation, I have learned this on the other side. Like, I do love that. I love, and don't take for granted the space that you guys help put me in the sense of coming to me. I don't take it for granted, and I always say the prayer that I never want my words to be from me. Like, I want them to be for whoever I'm talking to, with God's guidance, that what they need to hear, and it is not my personal agenda, because that is one of the hardest things when you are with someone that's looking for advice or something, they need something from you in a hard time, is to not make it about yourself. And I've learned that. And I also, on that sense, don't think if they don't take the advice that it took a while, because sometimes I've been doing this for years, but like to be like, well, I'm not talking to her anymore, she just won't listen. But I realize now that it's not even, like, don't take it personally. Like, it won't hurt my feelings, and I don't think of them differently if they don't take the advice. It's just hearing it, and sometimes it's maybe not what they need, but maybe gives them a different perspective. And just to know that I personally cannot make anyone do anything. I can share my thoughts. I can share a different perspective. I can hear them, listen to them, give any specific advice they're asking for, but it is their life to live. And that, I think, is key when you're looking for someone, or if you want to be that for someone, that is not about you. You cannot make it about you and what you want. And I think that's why, honestly, now that I say that out loud, I think that's why it's better, or it works better, to have that person in your life. You can call them whatever it is, your confidant, your mentor, your life coach, your, whatever that word is that's why I think it works better when it's not a family member, because you have to go in knowing that you have no control over the situation, and that's not what you're looking to get out of it. You're not talking to the other person saying you need to do this. Otherwise, I think that's where it blurs the line when it's family members, right?
Yeah, I feel that. Like, you're a little bit removed, and you're able to not make it personal. Mm-hmm. And so it's really just outwardly looking.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just refreshing, and sometimes you just need somebody else that's outside of your friend circle, outside of your family circle, that's just kind of like, okay, these are all the chips, and they can actually help you take a step back, look at the bigger picture. And maybe you don't go that route, but at least you're taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture.
Well, honestly, what I started realizing is a lot of times it's just listening to what that person is saying and catching it in a different way, or hearing it in a different way that they don't hear or see, even though they're the ones saying it, right? Because a lot of times, if you notice, I'll say things like, so this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this, and because I can hear it not being in their life, or not them being the ones saying it, they're like, oh my gosh, that's right. I can see where I missed that. So a lot of times it's just listening to what the person's actually saying themselves that they're just not hearing. Does that make sense? Like, there's so many times in there I'm like, okay, but do you see what you're saying is this? And so, but you're not looking at it that point of view, and or because they just can't even see it. They're so deep in the weeds that it's hard to see 100,000, like even 5,000 feet out, or 10 feet out. So
yeah, I was gonna say sometimes you're just so enthralled. Like we talk about it all the time with work. Like you kind of see the same thing over and over again, so you miss little things. Versus when somebody's fresh-eyed coming in, they're able to pick on all the little details and actually like kind of connect the dots for you. I feel like that's very hard to be that reflective for yourself. So it is so helpful to have somebody outside of that. I was going to say sometimes also when it's a family thing, there is like personal ties. So it's sometimes good when you're the outlier person in that situation and the other person is validating your feelings.
Oh, that's true.
When you're just like, you're like, you know what? I see exactly what you're saying. And everyone around you is, sometimes when it's family or friends, they're not seeing that.
Yeah.
And so it can be a little validating, and like that definitely is helpful.
Well, that's good to know in here too, because I'm just, as you talk, I'm trying to think back to all those conversations and how they've evolved over time. And I think you're right. I really do, and purposely try not to say anything for a long time and not to interrupt. So that way they can say everything they want. And honestly, sometimes that's all that is also, is they just need to, that person needs to just say it with no action, with no judgment, with nothing except, I get it. I understand. I can understand why you're coming from that point of view or where you see it. So anyway, I think it's been really good, and I've learned, because sometimes in the beginning, not the girls now, but in the beginning, when you see someone doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result, you call that insanity, right? Mm-hmm. Doing the same thing and thinking you're going to have a different result. And that's what happens, even though we're like, we talked about this 10 times, But I've come to realize until that person is ready, they're not, even if they know in their head, they're not going to make the changes they need to until they personally are ready. And I've learned that frustration on my part or any other parts is just going to push them away, or sometimes make them go opposite and keep going down the wrong path because they're trying to prove a point to everybody. I've seen that happen with a lot of people, but a lot of our young ladies over the years as well. Maybe not even proving it to me, but proving something to their mom, proving it to their friends, proving it to everyone and a lot of times it's boys, right? A lot of times is, I'm gonna show them that that's not what it is, or I can fix them, or he's gonna change, or whatever it is. And we're like, what are you doing?
I was gonna say a funny little story that is exactly that with me and my mom was, I'm deathly afraid of needles. I am so scared of them. So I was like, I'm gonna go get a piercing, like a cartilage piercing. And my mom was like, okay, go. You're not going to make it because you are terrified of needles. I have to hold you down for every single shot. And you're like 20 years old. So I was like, I'm going to go do it. She's like, you're going to chicken out. So I literally got the piercing. It was pure spite. I was just like, I'm going to do it because you told me I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then the loop, it was like a cartilage piercing, and I chose a little circle because I thought, oh, that'll be cute and comfortable. And I couldn't get it out for like 4 years. Like it was stuck in my ear for 4 years. I had friends try and take it out. I would fidget with it endlessly. I finally got it out. Like, oh my gosh, like how long was that thing in there? I got this thing out like a year ago. Wait, so it must have been more than 4 years.
So you were scared to death, but you put yourself through it just to prove your mom wrong.
And I still cry at shots. So I didn't conquer or learn anything. I just did it because my mom said I wouldn't do it. Like if she would have been like, go ahead and do it.
Well, I'll tell you, there's pros and there's scenarios when that happens where someone will say that and push you. Like, and what I thought of, and then there's like the bad way if someone tells you can't or won't or shouldn't, and you're going to prove it, but it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, my mom was totally right. You're going to regret getting that in the future. And the experience was painful. I would never get another one.
So a lot of times it's when, I won't say which daughter and I won't say which boyfriend. So, because it makes me think, even like in the staff when we're like, that boy is bad. Everyone can tell, but they're going to prove you wrong. And until they prove themselves like, I can't do it anymore. And then you realize later that I was just trying to make it work because I was trying to prove my parents wrong about this boy or whatever. And it could be girl, it could be whatever. That's a bad thing. But also, it made me think of this because someone, I forget who, I think I was 24, probably 23, 24. Someone told me that they didn't think I could finish a marathon. And I was like, I don't know. I was so feisty, even more feisty back then, proving myself so competitive. And I was like, So I didn't, and I almost died. This is a whole nother story. But I did run a marathon. But it started with that person who I can't even remember who it is anymore. It was probably a coworker that said I couldn't run a marathon because I was just a tiny little girl. And I was like, oh no. So I did it, almost died, and I didn't train right is the reason. But that's, maybe, I don't know, is that a good or bad thing? I was going to say that was supposed to be a good thing to say, like, I actually proved them right. I mean, I proved them wrong on a positive thing, but I should have done it better. I don't know the point of my story is. We all do that. We all do where we're trying to prove each other wrong. And it happens more so when you're trying to prove your family member wrong. So mentoring is good, but I'm not talking necessarily even official mentoring. Like, we have programs and like we work at a corporate job, they have mentors, they have big sister, little sister, they have like your mentoring in school for young kids. Those are all great, don't get me wrong. But I'm talking even so informal. It's just the people that you know in your life. If you can find someone, especially growing up, to don't even call it that because that puts a whole title on it. One is just like to be a person that you can learn from without expecting anything back. I mean, you're not asking for a job, you're not asking for a referral letter, you're not asking for any of that. You were just trying to get more knowledge from and experience through their experience to learn, right? And so I think if you're young and you can find that early on and find someone longevity that has a good heart, you will get more out of that. And if you're, and it's not to say that age, anyone can do it, and if you're in a position to be that person for someone in a non-selfish, self-centered way and just share what you know with someone who is less knowledgeable in that area or in age, I would say that does so much for a person than I think we even realize. Because maybe you think of that. You can think that I have someone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wrote it down on my little notepad that I don't know where it is, but self-motivation, I feel like I've always struggled with that, like believing in yourself, especially with trying new things that you don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't like to feel dumb. It's like a huge insecurity for me when I feel like I don't know what's going on. I try to be like very like knowledgeable, so when something is new, it is definitely kind of scary. And I feel like with you, just been working with you for so long has given me so much confidence. Aww. Because especially the most recent thing that I can think is that technical camp that I went to. Yeah. That was 6 months. It was very intense, and it was something that I've never, ever learned or even thought about learning. And I can't believe, like, by the end of it, especially because it's like very male dominated. Mm-hmm. So it was very intimidating for that reason. I didn't know that it was male dominated until I like walked into the class and there was like nothing but dudes. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard because I don't want to say anything too bad, but guys tend to talk over you. Right. They tend to think that you don't know. Correct. So you do have to kind of assert yourself. So I think that if I didn't have your backing on it, then I don't think that I would have done as well. Or I might have gone to an old tendency of mine, which is if I don't know something, I kind of shut down and go towards the back. Yeah. Versus this, I kind of like went full force and was just like, okay, I just gotta put myself out there. I gotta really like try and figure this out. But like sometimes a mentor is good for like self-motivation. They can, and it's not like they're like motivating, like, you're doing great, you're so fabulous, sweetie. Right. It's more like it's like your type A personality to like get things done a certain way rubbed off on me so that when I took that course, I had that ability instilled in me already. So it was like that foundational stuff that pushed me throughout that course, especially because when you work at the boutique, you have like a whole team of like girls that are like, you guys would ask updates and we would clap after meetings, like we go around and talk about it. That is so encouraging, especially in something that was so technical, because there were days where I was crying in the shower. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
What Jen's talking about is we have monthly staff meetings, and at the end of it, I have everyone go around and give their life update, whatever they want to share, nothing with the boutique, and to acknowledge them, and we clap and we cheer, and we end it that way. That's what she means by that.
Yeah. And dang, like, I can believe that I was like one of the top in my class by the end of it. It was like crazy, because at the end you get to decide who your group mates are, and like several people were asking me to be in their group because they knew that I was able to do all the projects, and it was web development, so we were like deploying stuff and like being able to like actually code things into existence. So
well, that makes me proud, because we won't go deep now because we're running out of time, but you know, since 2015, like we talked about how long you've come so far in your own, you're right, confidence in your own skin, and before you would have tendency of just letting everyone else take over, but maybe putting you in management roles, leadership roles at the boutique, you're confident there, and you know what's happening there, that rubs into the other girls look up to you because you know it all, you know everything there, and they're younger than you, and I think probably that translated in here for you to know that you could do something bigger. And because I always say this, like, whatever the map is, like, I hope you stay with us forever, but if there's another path, I will not stop you, because that's not our goal here. So I'm glad, because you have so much talent, and I hope that a lot of people have that, you know, a lot of people have that, and I say this because I'm listening to us, and you're right, it's not, our cheerleading is not like, go, 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 it is, okay, let's build you every day to know that, and hold you accountable to it, right?
It's like you have to earn, like, there's steps to being able to get to goals, and you're really good about, like, these are the steps, you have to lay it out, and you're held to an accountability, like, standard, because X has to be done by then.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, have all your, and Cecile you are so good, because you'll be like, okay, what's the password? What is this? Like, oh, the scripting, like, you're just rattling all this stuff off. So if you can't keep up, then it becomes difficult. But I think that's helped me now, because when any situations happen with like friends, we're planning anything, I'm like on top of like every little thing, every little detail. My friends are like, oh my gosh, where do you, like, you were so on it. Like, you were just one of those people that is just like,
things just don't happen. Someone has to make it happen.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be those people. Well, I think this was a great topic. It'd be interesting. We'll try to touch on these with the other ladies as well to see their take, because that was just the scope. But we just wanted to share a little bit, because if you could, you know, create that a little bit in your world, or be that someone for someone else, I'm telling you, it just gives you a safety net. And for those that do it and help others, and I still have others that help me, but for those that I hope it's something to share and makes life a little bit easier. So anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back, and we'll post again here all our social medias and our handles to follow us there, and we are open for topics. So thanks, Jen. Great job.
Oh, awesome. I guess we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
All right, bye.